question. There was a press conference from the Reserve Bank Governor this afternoon. They are a rarity. And from what we heard an hour ago, there's very little expectation of a rise in interest rates. What were you able to glean from what the Governor had to say?
What the Governor is saying is, I'm not going to increase interest rates until the inflation rate rises, the wages rise. I'm not going to anticipate that. I'm going to wait till it happens. And I don't think it'll happen for quite some time yet. This is the Reserve Bank Governor talking. It's a risk strategy, because if he gets it wrong and he waits until this has actually happened, we'll then have a momentum in wage rises and in inflation that will require much more severe activity. And previous Reserve Bank governors haven't done that. They've tried to anticipate what was going to happen. This Reserve Bank governor has taken a different stance, and it does have a degree of risk to it. We should be aware of that.
And it's interesting, most of his conversations seem to return to one central theme, Robert, and that was reopening borders and how hamstrung we are now with borders closed the way they are. You've written a piece that surrounds that topic in The Australian today about a bid by the super funds to purchase Sydney Airport. Does that tell us that business is expecting a reopening of borders soon or not so soon?
I think what that tells us is that the superannuation funds believe we'll get out of this. I don't know if they've put a timeline on it in terms of when borders might open, but they're looking forward 2 and 3 years and beyond. And they're saying, we're going to see a very prosperous Australian economy that will see a great deal more aircraft travel, both domestic and overseas. The vaccines will isolate the problem, they'll confine the problem. And so we've got a very different Australia coming up. And so they're saying, what's a particular piece of infrastructure that will really benefit from this? And they're saying, Sydney Airport. And that's why they're buying it. It's a long-term play, but it's based on a very different Australian economy. It's based on a different outlook to the outlook that most businesses tend to have and most people tend to have. And that's why it's such a fascinating bid.
What do you think business is prepared to wear? Now, I ask that question because most of the experts at the moment are telling us we will be able to give vaccines to all those who are willing to take vaccines. There'll be a particular threshold by the end of the year, they're saying. Can business wait that long for the borders to reopen? And then you've got to consider, well, the government isn't going to reopen borders in the middle of an election campaign. So will they buy or wear the fact that we may have to wait another 3 months?
I think they've got it. I think the situation in Australia is, whether you like it or not, that the people in, whether it be Queensland, New South Wales or Victoria, all the way across to WA, are saying we don't want the infection. And the only way we've got available to us at this point of time is to have shut borders. And so, and that's basically what the ordinary person is saying, not what necessarily business is saying. In fact, business is saying quite a different thing. But if you're a politician, you listen to what the voters are saying. And you saw that huge result in WA. You saw the Queensland Premier come in the same way. That's what the ordinary person is saying. So business has simply got to adapt. But that bid tells you that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that our superannuation funds believe that if they wait long enough, and not too long, but there will be a very big upturn, and led by travel.
It also Robert, it also tells me that the super industry, excuse me, did fairly well during the pandemic.
Did. Because I know that the cafes, the events business, anything to do with students or education, they all had some very hard times. But their Bunnings had a fantastic time. They made a fortune. What about Harvey Norman and all those sort of people and Good Guys? Those companies have made a lot of money. And so it's not a straight line where you look and see it's the same situation for all businesses. Yep. It's been a very prosperous time. And Australian Super and some of the other industry superannuation funds invested in infrastructure. And and some of that infrastructure has gone up substantially on the back of lower interest rates. They invested in other equities that did well. So Australian super and some of the other superannuation funds too have performed around 20% for the year. That's
amazing.
Almost unheard of.
It's amazing.